Greetings. I'm Chris Anderson. I'm one of the staff team at Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan. And today we're going to do some exploring and celebrating because it's Black History Month. Now, I'm guessing most of you know that Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans and a time for recognizing African Americans' important role in U.S. history. What you may not know, though, is that Black History Month actually started in 1915. That was a time when there wasn't much information on the accomplishments of African Americans available to the public. So, wanting to address that situation, a historian by the name of Carter G. Woodson co-founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. In 1926, the group dedicated the second week of February as Negro History Week to recognize those contributions. At that point, few people had studied Black history, and it wasn't included in textbooks prior to the creation of Negro History Week. The second week of February was chosen because it includes the birthdays of two men who played a big role in ending slavery: abolitionist Frederick Douglass and U.S. President Abraham Lincoln. Schools and leaders began recognizing the week, and the week-long event eventually became Black History Month in 1976, when U.S. President Gerald Ford declared February as Black History Month to, quote-unquote, honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Black History Month has been celebrated in the United States every February since. Black History Month honors all Black people from all periods of U.S. history, from the enslaved people first brought over from Africa in the early 17th century to African Americans living in the United States today. Now, that's a pretty long span of time and a whole lot of geography to cover. You might not know it, though, that some truly amazing contributions to our country's history and culture actually happened and continue to happen right here in Michigan. Today, across our state, there are a lot of opportunities to explore and learn about the lives of African Americans whose achievements enrich all of our lives. And oftentimes, they are people that you haven't heard much about. We're going to start our celebration of Black History Month in Michigan by mapping out some places you'll want to get familiar with. Although we won't have a chance to virtually visit all of these spots, we're going to get started with laying out a route you can follow to visit some very cool places in Michigan where you can learn more about some very notable African Americans. As we learn more about some of these places and individuals, you might want to create your own Black History Month passport notebook and include some of the interesting things you learn. You can also check with our Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan Council shop for a lasting reminder of your virtual adventure, like maybe one of these patches. So let's get started. Our first stop is the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. FYI, the Wright Museum is a little outside of GSHOM's footprint, and later this month we'll be stopping at some spots that our council is home to. The Wright Museum is located in downtown Detroit. It holds the largest permanent exhibit on African American culture in the world, with more than 35,000 artifacts. It's also home to the Blanche Coggin Underground Railroad collection, the Harriet Tubman Museum collection, and a collection of documents about the labor movement in Detroit, among other things. And Still We Rise, our journey through African American history and culture, and Detroit Performs are just two of the permanent exhibits you can explore at the Wright. Now, the museum was founded by Dr. Charles H. Wright in 1965. Now, Dr. Wright was an accomplished physician and clinical professor. He was always involved in social and political aspects of medicine and society, and he was a powerful force for the integration of Detroit hospitals. He wrote and published one of the few volumes of history of African Americans in healthcare in Detroit, and that was titled "The National Medical Association Demands Equal Opportunity." Nothing more, nothing less. Now, some of you may know a little bit about Dr. Wright beyond what I've just shared, but I'm guessing most of you don't know a lot about an individual who's been called the First Lady of the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. And that is Roberta Hughes Wright, Charles's wife. Now, although Roberta stood in the shadows of her famous husband, she certainly illuminated those shadows with her own remarkable accomplishments, not the least of which were as an esteemed educator and attorney. Over the course of her career, she was director of the City of Detroit Commission on Children and Youth, a faculty member at Lawrence Institute of Technology, vice president of academic affairs at Shaw College, and a founder and 10-year member of the board of directors of the First Independence National Bank of Detroit. Roberta said the bank was created out of necessity, stating that, quote, "The mood just after the '67 riots was volatile. It was difficult for us as African Americans in many ways. We just wanted to be able to thrive, open businesses, buy homes, and take care of our families. We didn't know how to start a bank, but we knew it was what we had to do," unquote. So First Independence Bank was founded in 1970 and was just one of 28 Black-owned banks in the United States at that time. Now, I think that's a great example for those of you who might be considering starting your own businesses. So while you're planning out your cookie business for this year, Roberta might just be somebody you want to take a closer look at and learn more about. On an interesting note, Roberta wrote over a dozen books, and one of those was a discussion of the history and importance of Black American cemeteries. It's called Lay Down Body, Living History in African American Cemeteries. So as you plan your virtual visits for Black History Month, you might want to add Elmwood Cemetery in Detroit to your list. It's the resting place for many famous African Americans, including Roberta's husband, Dr. Charles H. Wright. So I'm guessing that now you're starting to think about what you can do, or what you and your Girl Scout troop can do to celebrate Black History Month. Maybe you'll want to set up a movie night with films that highlight important events in African American history. Films like Selma or Hidden Figures. And by the way, Hidden Figures is an especially great choice for those of you who have a passion for STEM. So one activity you'll want to consider uses one of the Wright Museum's permanent exhibits, and that's the Ring of Genealogy. Now, the ring was created for the Wrights' Ford Freedom Rotunda, and that was by a muralist by the name of Hubert Massey, and it is a 37-foot floor, yes, on the floor installation, and it's encircled by hundreds of bronze nameplates, and each of those nameplates contains the name of an iconic figure from African American history. And we're going to take a look at some of that ring and the names it contains, so you and maybe some of your sister Girl Scouts can pick a name you don't recognize. Go ahead and do a little online research. Look at some pictures and learn what that person did that's impacted our history, and then share what you find with your troop. If you're keeping a passport, add that information to it. So thanks for coming along on this virtual journey in celebration of Black History Month. Hope you'll join us for part 2 of our journey. So keep an eye out for some special Feature Friday video events this month.